So let us start. Let me share the screen. And before I share the screen, I would like to put across a question to all of you. Recall the moment when you for the first time thought that the legal profession was for you, or you were meant to be in the legal profession. Was it always your dream? Did somebody influence you? Did you read about it and then you felt that you want to be in this profession? What was it? What were your thoughts in that particular moment when you decided? Anyone, just unmute yourself and share.
Yes, ma'am. It has been like during my graduation, we had a subject called mercantile law.
Okay.
So that was when we had a small part of contract in it, just the acceptance and consideration part. So I just loved the subject, and I had decided that after my graduation, I will pursue law. But eventually,
great.
I could not pursue law that time. And almost 20-25 years passed by before I finally enrolled myself for law and finally completed it.
Amazing. Amazing. A huge round of applause for Miss Fatima. See, all of you, I want to, tell you in this moment that Fatima just showed courage to share something. Okay. I want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
understand that one feeling which made you, which gave you, which gave you this feeling that I want to be in this profession. What was that moment? What was that thought?
Well, that thought was like it was,
Like
I
Fatima
used to get.
shared that she was influenced by mercantile law. The subject influenced her. You getting my
Yes,
point?
yes.
That is the point. She thought that now she wants to pursue law. What was your point? What was your thought?
Well, the subject was interesting, and the thought was that one day I'll become a lawyer and enroll myself in this profession and
All right.
help in administering justice is what I can say.
Okay, you always, okay, fine. You want to say that you wanted to help people get justice and you were passionate about it. That's why you wanted to join law. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some more responses.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So my name is Satpreet, and I am into the profession. Like I have post qualification experience of 2 years, and I am practicing on my own right now. So the first time I entered into law school, I never wanted to become a lawyer because I just wanted to help my family with my family legal issues and stuff. That's what my entire idea of getting into law was. But
Amazing.
I
So you
remember,
have some family issues, some legal issues in family which you wanted to resolve. So
yes,
you wanted to understand law better. Okay, great.
but when I went, I remember my first internship that was in Supreme Court of India.
Amazing.
So I saw a senior lawyer wearing like a cape. Their capes are like different, right? The gown is different. So I got really attracted by that, and I asked my senior why is it different, and I would wear it in my moot court competition. So I was like because I came from a non-legal profession, my parents are not lawyers or anything.
So you were quite fascinated.
So, yeah, I got like
You were
extremely
fascinated.
I felt like I was in a la la land, and I wanted to it was like a candy shop for a kid, and wanted
All
to
right, great. Thank you, Satpreet, for sharing. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
amazing. Some more responses. Anybody would like to share? Then we will. But see, I must appreciate all three of you for showing courage to come and share that first thought that inspired you to join the legal profession. And before we proceed, I would like to make clear to everybody over here. See, when person number one speaks about himself and the person number two feels inspired, okay, I also want to speak, they improve upon what the person number one spoke. And person number three is likely to improve upon person number two and person number one. And this is what happens, when fourth person, fifth person, sixth person is going to speak. That means the last person knows a lot, learns a lot, and is expected to definitely avoid the mistakes and come up ideally with the statement. Happens? Have you noticed it in somewhere? In your college, in your social settings? Have you observed this? This happens?
Yes.
So that is why we must be thankful to all the people who first show the initiative of sharing, okay? And that makes us feel comfortable and we come up with our sharing. So there is nothing like we judging each other over here. Please feel free to share whenever I ask you to share. So for today's session, the basic highlights are that we will get a basic overview of emotional intelligence and its framework. Then we will have some neuroscience perspectives, understand the importance of emotional intelligence in judicial behavior through case studies, and we will discuss some keys to PI. So in case any of you have ever heard that emotional intelligence is about being nice, so today we will reframe it and remember it's not about being nice, it's about being effective. All right. So next time you find somebody effectively confronting you or arguing on something very effectively with evidence, okay, and with proper arguments, that time we don't say that this person is being rude. We can definitely analyze that behavior and say whether the person is being effective or not. All right. And in legal profession, every now and then when people are meeting clients, when you are in the court, you are actually confronting, isn't it? I would like somebody to say yes or no,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes.
Okay. You're actually confronting. So confrontation ability is a very important ability that in legal profession lawyers develop. All right. So now as a concept, with emotional intelligence, we also learn something about our brain. Because when we understand brain, we are actually able to understand behaviors better. And this concept was popularized in 90s by John Mayer and Peter Salovey. But the term became a part of HR lexicon after the release of the book Emotional Intelligence, Why It Matters More Than IQ. It was written by Daniel Goleman, and since then it has entered our consciousness. So what is emotional intelligence? In very simple terms, it's about understanding your own self, your emotions, regulating your emotions and those of others. And since you know how the other person is feeling or thinking, you use that information for directing a productive behavior and making effective decisions. Now, is it a learnable skill? Yes, it is a learnable skill. It has 12 essential competencies, but naturally in natural environments, in general sense, people hardly possess 5 to 7 competencies. Rest of the competencies they have to work on, they have to develop so that they can maintain a successful balance. So why is it important to learn? It's important to learn because the research data is supporting us. Goleman indicated that EI accounts for 67% of abilities deemed necessary for superior performance in leadership context. People high in EI, they show great mental health, leadership skills, exceptional interpersonal relationships as essential ingredients of personal and professional success. And students who are trained in EI, they have shown an 11% improvement in academic success. Studies have shown that EI accounts for 1/3 of financial performance of an organization. Let me emphasize this, 1/3 of a financial performance. It is huge, isn't it? And not only that, an emotionally intelligent person also enjoys more profits, not just higher revenues, because their healthcare, liability costs, they go lower because they know how to apply it. Now you'll ask me, why do we understand brain here? I'm not a medical aspirant. Neuroscience studies have shown that activity in the brain is intertwined with your behavior and mental processes. And understanding brain helps us gain acceptance of the behaviors, become less judgmental about people, and take corrective measures for better outcomes. All right, here is a case that I'm really curious to talk about. But before I go about this case, I would like you to ponder upon this question. If I take out your titles, so for example, when I say I'm an emotional intelligence coach, a research scholar, an editor, or an author, all these are titles, isn't it? They're professional titles. If I ask you this question, what would you be? How would you define yourself in absence of any of the titles or relationships? Can I have some answers coming up from the audience? How would you define yourself in absence of the titles or relationships? I'll leave you with this as a food for thought for some time till we complete the story over here. Are you all able to see this picture here?
Yes.
This picture of this person and the skull that is shown over here with the rod. His name is Phineas Gage. He existed in 1823 to 1860, more than 170 years. We're trying to access his story. This story is very famous as American Crowbar case. This story, this person's incident actually is the first ever incident which neuroscientists jotted down that how brain plays a role in determining our personality and that the damage to specific parts of the brain might induce specific mental change. Now, what actually had happened was Phineas Gage was a very nice, gentleman, helpful person. You can think of all good qualities any general person might have who is working for his at a construction site as a worker at a railroad construction site. And one day it so happened that there was an accident and there was a big iron rod, as you can see here, a red hot iron rod. It just passed through his jaw and then came out of his skull from the left frontal lobe. This is a very horrible image, isn't it? But what happened after that is interesting. Whilst this rod was inside his head and it was crossing like that, he did not lose consciousness. He was carried to a doctor, which was 13 miles away at that point in time. He was still conscious. Doctor treated him, obviously, and after that, doctor kept taking his statements, how he's feeling, what are his updates, how he's feeling clinically, and how is he behaving, what's happening in his life. Dr. Horlow kept record of each and everything regarding this case because this was for the first time. He could not believe his eyes that something like this happens to somebody and the person does not lose consciousness. The person does not lose memory. His memory is intact. But what actually happened later on, after 6 months, obviously he could not join his job back again. He was struggling with his own physical conditions, mental conditions. His personality completely changed. He became an abusive person. He became aggressive. His friends who knew him once at his workplace, they no more identified him as their friend Gage. They no more identified him so. They were shocked with his behavior. Now, going ahead in time when he was struggling and he was not even accepted in his job back. So some 6 months down the line, when he healed a bit, he again went to the doctor. He kept taking records. Some years down the line, he joined a job of a stagecoach. So what does a stagecoach do? He deals with the horses. He takes care of the stable, then takes care of the cart, takes people from one place to another. And that was a very gradual journey that he could at least take up that job and be there. But while being in that job, he turned compassionate towards animals, and it was a very gradual process. He even became the subject of research at Harvard. And this skull that you see is still preserved in their museum. Gage had become an overnight celebrity after the first paper was published over this breakthrough. But unfortunately, he survived only 12 years after this accident. And his quality of life, yes, it had went down. His abilities had went down. And obviously his personality, the way people identified him as Gage, that personality, that person had changed because of this accident. Now, when I asked you guys that think about it, that who are you without any title, without any relationship, you have to go back and think. When you think, you're actually able to access the values that you like, the talents that you have, something that is naturally yours. You do not brag about it. You do not say, I'm this, I'm that. You just are able to access who you are in that moment. And why is this important? Because nowadays we see so many accidents happening. We have witnessed many accidents. And people's behaviors change, they become irritable, their temperament changes, their personality changes sometimes. But do you know that stress can equally do the same thing to us? Stress can, change the way our brain behaves. So that is why it's important to not identify yourself with the titles or the relationships. Think back, who am I in this moment? And this will help you to sail through whenever you have any kind of major, contingencies coming to life, which we don't wish for, but then life is all about contingencies, surprises. Maybe some struggles come up. We don't know. We don't expect them, but they do come. So thinking, who am I without these titles, surely will help you sail through. Now let us come to the emotional intelligence framework, as given by Daniel Goleman. You're able to see on the left side the personal competence, on the right side, you're able to see the social competence. Personal competence involves self-awareness and self-management. As you can see, these components. Emotional self-awareness. What is self-awareness? It is knowing deeply what are your preferences, what are your resources, how are you feeling in some states or in some situations. You being able to predict yourself. That is self-awareness. When we talk about accurate self-assessment, all of us know about SWOT analysis, our strengths, weaknesses, right? Self-assessment actually is about your strengths and weaknesses. Knowing what are your limits, that should help you. Your self-confidence. What is your self-confidence? It is, when I said that, who am I in this moment? You should be able to answer this question, self-confidence. There's an innate sense of self-worth that each one of us have, isn't it? We feel inside our heart of hearts, I'm worth this thing. I'm worth this behavior. I'm worth this job. What is that sense that makes us feel this way? That is your self-confidence. Then these things you're able to answer when you try to put away all your titles, all your relationships, and you think in the moment, who am I? Do I really have access to all these things? When we talk about legal profession, and for that matter, any profession, and in our personal lives too, self-management is important. As you can see, just these pointers, self-control. What is self-control? You keeping your disruptive emotions in check. You keeping your impulsive nature in check. There are some people who, we talk a lot about the gratification thing. We delayed gratification. We talk a lot about gratification. And if somebody is able to delay gratification, we are able to say, oh, this person is exercising self-control. And not only that, sometimes you feel a lot angry about somebody, but you're not expressing that anger, and you're withholding that anger, particularly because you know that it can have certain consequences. Because you know that it can have certain consequences, you hold back and you don't express it in that very moment. You know what damage it can do. That self-awareness talks to you and you are able to exercise self-control. That is how you keep your disruptive emotions. When we talk about transparency, again, accessing your own thing, your values. Am I really honest? Do I really show integrity when nobody is watching me? That is transparency. Am I really communicating my heart? Am I really communicating what I am feeling without this fear of being judged? This is transparency. Adaptability, as we all know, situations change, Corona came, we all adapted, means we have to be flexible. Achievement drive. So all of you today, when you have joined this session, ask yourself, why did you join this session? Because you care for your goals, you care for your organization, or maybe you care for your family, you care for your group of people, you share something common. And that's what makes you come here and learn more. What is initiative? Initiative is all about you being able to seize an opportunity whenever it comes. You always be confident about whatever knowledge you already have, whatever skill sets you already have. If an opportunity comes and you grab the opportunity, you say, okay, I am the person, I will do it right away. That is where you show initiative. Sometimes there are contingencies in families also. There are contingencies in workplace also. Who is the first person to step up? Whether that person knows something about the situation or he does not know something about the situation. If the person steps up to that challenge, you say that the person is taking initiative. See, I'm just trying to make you recall the incidences. These are all those things which you have to ask yourself, who am I? Without the titles, without the relationships. Your social awareness, which we call a social competence. So what is competence basically? It is your ability to do something efficiently. And are you able to think of each of these parameters in any situation? If a friend is talking to you or sharing something, what do you show? You show empathy, isn't it? You say, yeah, I know how it understands. And if you have gone through something like that, you share it too. You say, yeah, I have been in that situation. I know how it feels. It feels terrible. Or you say, yeah, it feels really good. You know how to empathize. Organizational awareness. When we talk about organizational awareness, there is a lot of diversity. There are a lot of micro factors and macro factors that affect you. For example, our political system changes. You can't do anything about it, but it affects you, right? Any responses? Does it affect you? When a political system changes, it affects you. When government policies change, it affects you. But are they in your control? No, they're not in your control, but they affect you. You know how to deal with the diversity of people, reading the emotional currents of people around you, and then behave accordingly. And I think all of us do that even without knowing about it. Sometimes you have to go and meet your boss, and you actually go and check how is the mood of the boss today. You actually go and ask somebody in the somebody closer who is even the person who goes and gives the tea to the boss, serves tea to the boss. You ask this person, how is the mood of the boss today? He says, yeah, it is good enough. And so he's like, okay, I'm ready to go then. I want to discuss my promotion today. Don't we check the mood of people when we have to actually step up and speak something about our own self or discuss something about our own self? Is it? That is about you detecting the emotional currents and you detecting the power relationships in an organization. These relationships should help you to navigate the challenges, the emotional challenges that come across. Sometimes people in organizational setup feel as if favoritism is happening, but they might not be knowing what is the exact relationship those two people share. The third person is feeling negligent, but he does not know what is that exact relationship the other two people share. Maybe they are very transparent with each other. Maybe they are paying a lot of respect to each other. Maybe they are showing a lot of honesty to each other. That is why the lot of dependency is also there, isn't it? When you are in a customer-facing situation, you have to, predict what could be the possible, challenges this customer is facing, and on the basis of those challenges that you want to predict, you should be able to effectively ask questions, isn't it? So, isn't the questioning strategy a very important strategy to elicit responses that are desirable or truthful, which should be helpful in your project or in whatever task you are executing for that customer, isn't it? In legal profession also, when a person visits you for a legal advice, don't you gauge, in very few moments you're able to gauge about the person just by his body language. You're able to say a lot of things about the person, and it happens in nanoseconds, isn't it? That is how, when you meet more people, when you observe this kind of data, non-verbal data is stored in your mind. And this non-verbal data helps you to predict, isn't it? So this is service orientation. When it comes to relationship management, we just talked about inspirational things, isn't it? There was this Miss Fatima, I think she shared about how she was fascinated by the lawyer. Yes, I would like to ask her, was it only his gown, or it was about also how he behaved, or how he, you might have watched certain non-verbal clues about that person, because it can never be only the gown. He must have been carrying that gown very well. Yes, his body language. His body language might have been very, very clear, confident, isn't it? So when we talk about developing others, right now, what is happening in this session? We are trying to impart some knowledge so that it remains in your awareness. And next time you are in some situation, you recall these pointers. You ask yourself, am I really developing these competencies? What is it that I'm lacking? You are able to tell truth to yourself. So it's better to write down, to think and ponder upon all these factors. Influence. By saying influence or becoming an influencer, honestly, it does not just mean, becoming a social media influencer. If I have to ask you, how many of you know some social media influencer so personally? Is there anybody who knows some influencer, social media influencer personally, knows about their life? Anybody? Any person who is able to influence you means this person has given you some insight. He has given you some kind of help or guidance or inspiration so that you could successfully sail from that and exercised his influence on you. And when we call it influence, because you accepted the guidance that was given. That is why we call it influence. In Corona times also, we came to know so many people who have been able to influence by helping other people, by guiding other people. They have been the change catalysts. Is it managed a lot of change in organizations, be it banks, who were there operational every day? Aren't we thankful to them for managing that change? They didn't let the economy fall down. Conflict management. This conflict is something which you will witness every now and then in your court. You will always have a conflict with what your opponent or your competent person is talking about. But how will you be able to manage it? You'll be able to manage it by again asking yourself this question: who am I in this moment? Am I identifying myself with the case, or am being an observer and actually thinking whether the argument that is coming to me, is it making sense or it is not making sense? Do I have enough evidence? Does he have enough evidence to support it? Isn't it? And in legal profession, you have to be good collaborator. You have to work with forensic experts. You have to work with other administrative legal professionals. There are corporate lawyers who deal with corporate matters, isn't it? There are historians, archaeologists, and people from diverse other backgrounds, psychologists, body language experts, organizational behavior experts. Sometimes they have to attend court only to give their inputs. And they're always, present in the court without other person's knowledge. And they give their inputs as directed by the judge. So this, I thought, I took this cartoon picture. It says, are you trying to show contempt for this court? So it says, no, I'm trying to hide it. You can also go and see some cases, the humorous cases, the funny cases of India. You'll get a lot of insights about what people talk in the court. Sometimes it is difficult to digest. And you tend to laugh. What is this? What is this person talking? Does it happen in the court? It happens in our parliament also, isn't it? See, as I told you that our words play only 7% of the role, our tone of voice, 38%, and our body language, 55%. We talked about negotiations. When you talk to a client, don't you have to negotiate, isn't it? Have you come across people who say fixed price? You walk up to their shop and you don't even say a thing. Whatever price tag is there, you pay up the price, isn't it? Yes? And wherever there's a shop where there is not a fixed price shop, you always try to negotiate, isn't it? Because you don't know. You're actually not sure what will be the exact price of this thing. So you try to negotiate on your behalf. This negotiation happens everywhere, and legal profession is no different. You have a client, you have to negotiate, but you also have to empathize with the client. Is it your past experience? Sometimes you connect with the client because you have a past experience and you want to take up his or her case, and you don't even worry about the price, but you don't do it in for free. But then I'm just talking that if you have some emotional connect, that connect comes from some past experience and you want to help the client. Often people ask this question: what is the difference between feelings, emotions, and thoughts? I'm sure all of you had this question, yes? Is it all of you know about what is feeling, emotion, and thoughts? Yes or no?
Yes,
I want certain
this is
response.
the question.
All right, great. Can I have some responses from the audience? What do they think feelings are? Some response from the audience. What do they think feelings are? Then we'll go ahead.
Ma'am, feelings are expressive. Emotions we may not express.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay,
Roshni, one more
and-
participant there.
our thoughts lead to these two. What we think, we come up with feelings and with emotions.
Mm-hmm. What we think, we come up with emotions and feelings. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Feelings are, according to me, are related with the heart, because whenever you feel something, it includes your speed of heartbeat also, like
Mm-hmm.
how your brain is working with that thought process, and
Mm-hmm.
the anxiety that hits you while you are facing some situation.
Mm-hmm.
Since I am a beginner lawyer, so I'm a junior actually. So sometimes before appearing to a court, I feel very happy, but inside I'm
Okay.
also scared
All right. Great.
for insult or something. Yeah, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for the responses. All right. Let's discuss in brief what are feelings, emotions, and thoughts. And while I will discuss this, I'm going to take you towards our evolution. Okay. If I have to briefly talk about feelings, it is what you physiologically, the state, physiological state of your body. Okay. What you feel at a physical level, what happens at a physical level is a feeling. Okay. You go for an interview and this is your first time, you feel nervous. And what is that nervous? You feel something in your stomach, you feel sweaty palms, okay? You hold your hands every now and then. Does it happen? Have you experienced it ever for the first time when you went for an interview? Or it's your
Yes.
first ever, case, you are in the court, okay? And your superiors are also there who have taught you and you're going to fight for the first time. Are you again going to feel the same thing a bit? Yes,
Yes.
right? And when somebody uh, you know say for example says some bad word to you, or you feel angry in some moment, what happens? You clench your jaw. If you don't want to talk to that person, what happens? You clench your jaw, isn't it? Your face tightens, your jaw tightens. All these things are actually happening where? They're happening physically. Sometimes some people feel so nervous that their legs also shake out of that nervousness, isn't it? They feel such shivering, isn't it? All these are feelings, what we feel at a body level. What happens at the body level is the feeling. Okay, now let us talk about emotions. Talking from a neuroscientific perspective, our brain detects emotions in two forms: threats or rewards. Threats or rewards. Imagine the time when we were apes, and apes, we became Homo erects, then we became thinking beings, Homo sapiens, isn't it? But all those years, in evolution, we had a challenge of survival, isn't it? We had a challenge of survival. We had to deal with animals, we had to deal with darkness, and all that information, those challenges that we faced those days, they have evolved our brain. And that information is still with us. How we used to feel in that moment. And there is this limbic system in our brain which stores this information and it detects threats very quickly. Even far before you can think, आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि आपके brain ने सोच लिया होगा that this is a threat. Now the question is, in today's environment, okay, in today's times, if I give you a fresh example, Taliban attack, okay? Taliban attacked Afghanistan that time. What are the people feeling over there? We talk about it every now and then in the news, right? How are people feeling? They're feeling that any time can be their last time. We saw those images when people were trying to, cling to that aeroplane and they fell down. They were wanting to fly from there, but for their life. They're scared every moment, not only for their life, but also for the treatment that they will be given by the Talibans. Isn't it? This is happening there. But now when we talk about the workplace, are we facing such kind of threats? Workplace. What are our current workplace threats that our brain detects on its own? For example, you are a lawyer, you are in the court, and you have a opponent who is coming with some great evidences, okay, and the opponent tells you right over there, you are wrong. In that moment, your brain detects that as a threat. You want to deal with that with complete force, isn't it? Your boss calls you for an appraisal to give you a feedback. Your brain detects as a threat. That is the problem in our system, in our current ecosystem. Our managers have to learn emotional intelligence so that they make appraisal or coaching or feedback process a kind of process where people feel pleasant to come and learn more about themselves. But unfortunately, there have been a lot of workplaces where managers give a kind of feedback that you have not been doing this, you are not capable of doing this. When they use phrases like these, how do you feel? You don't even feel like entering that room where this appraisal is going to happen, or that meeting when this appraisal is going to happen. You find your brain detects it as a threat, isn't it? Somebody tells you that you're not worth this thing. Your brain detects it as a threat. These are our modern threats in the workplace. And our brain, whenever somebody is going to give you a hike or promotion, or they issue a letter, or they recognize you, give some award, just the anticipation, you have still not received the award, but just the anticipation of it makes you feel good. Because there has been not even a mail, but there has been just a little gesture. Somebody patted you on the back and said, good job. And this happened just before your appraisal. So your brain is detecting it as a reward. You feel, oh, something good is going to happen. Isn't it? Does this happen?
Yes.
Now, do you understand what are our modern threats and modern rewards?
Yes.
So now I will take you through some case studies and thoughts. When we talk about thought is what? Any idea or opinion that comes to your mind, or it occurs on its own. You can create the opinion, you can create an idea, or it occurs on its own. That is a thought. And thoughts can invoke emotion as well. Sometimes you think so much about a person, maybe in a negative sense, that it triggers our limbic system and you feel that, and it detects it as a threat. And then you feel, what has exactly happened? You have entered a chain reaction. You said something that you did not want to. That means your emotional brain takes over and it processes information so fast that it does not give your executive center, that is your control center, your prefrontal cortex, it does not give it time to think. And sometimes you say, my God, I never wanted to say this, but I don't know why I said this, and you feel guilty. Does it happen?
Yes.
Happens in many situations. Do you see these movie scenes over here? These were just to capture certain emotions when we see movies. Movies always have an emotional connect with us. They always show that the lawyer who is taking up this case and finally winning has a deep emotional connection with the case. I would definitely urge you to watch some good movies like Damini, Kanun, okay, Veer Zara, or even Jolly LLB. These movies have really shown how we connect with the case. Sometimes a person has his own history and shows an emotional connect. Now, as a person in the legal profession, what do you want to deal with? You know, sometimes your clients may lie to you. They may not reveal the truth. It can be so embarrassing, isn't it? And sometimes you tell your client, why you did not even tell me this? I have already attended one session in the court. That can be highly embarrassing for you. So it's very important to know your client well. Know whether your client is actually speaking the truth before you proceed. So you got to be a good researcher. You got to be a good collaborator so that you can actually come to know about the truth of your client. Sometimes you're not able to negotiate the commercials with your client because you're constantly comparing yourself with the others in the industry. Now again, coming back to that point, who am I in this moment? Are you comparing yourself, becoming prey to that? Or you're actually acting from your center. Sometimes you're not able to collaborate well with the other experts. Do you know what happens in the workplace? Sometimes you find people technically so sound, you find them so knowledgeable that you call them smart. You want to be like them. But when you approach them for some problem solving, they belittle you. They tell you, oh, you just don't know this much. I was expecting you to know. When they belittle you, what happens in that very moment? You don't want to go and approach that person again. Happens? What is lacking in that moment? You have to understand, ask yourself again, who am I in that moment? What is lacking? That person lacks an emotional intelligence capacity to be approachable, okay? He has all the knowledge, he has all the expertise, but he does not have empathy. He does not have respect, and you don't want to deal with this kind of person. But there are ways to deal with these kind of people as well, because every now and then you cannot expect every person to be emotionally intelligent in all other aspects. So it is you who has to equip yourself with skills so that you can deal with such people as well and not lose their expert opinion, right? Your sense of competition sometimes doesn't allow you to feel contentment, because in your mind, it's either a win or lose situation, particularly in legal profession. When you are in court, you either lose a case or you win a case, isn't it? And media highlights it as win or lose. Your family looks at it as win or lose. This is a conditioned response from the external stimuli, you know, and you feel, oh my God, I am a loser in this moment. That is when you have to again go back, ask yourself, who am I in this moment? Because if you're identifying yourself with the case or with your job, you're losing yourself. That is when you show self-awareness. If you've lost the game, it's okay. If you won the game, it's okay. You should be sure that you did your best. How you ensure that is what we teach in emotional intelligence. You're not sometimes successfully able to switch your states of mind. For example, you've just come out of the court. You are upset with what has happened. And soon you find somebody influential whom you admire a lot crossing you. What would you do? Say Sachin Tendulkar came to the court, what will happen? Say if you admire Sachin Tendulkar and he came to the court and you just come out of the court and you're feeling extremely upset and Sachin Tendulkar passes by, what will you feel? Will your brain immediately detect it as a reward?
Yes.
And without even you knowing it, your brain will calculate, immediately detect this is your reward, and it will switch your state of mind. But that brain will do. But are you able to do it consciously? That is what we teach in emotional intelligence. Sometimes you confuse your relationship with your position, as I said, and unnecessarily you compromise, which you didn't want to. For example, there was this case of ICICI, wherein the CEO routed some funds to a company. That position was confused with the relationship. And that is where the whole purpose of being a leader failed. If your mom tells you, I'm your mom, you got to do this for me. No, you got to first know what is law. You have to first keep your relationship away from your rules and regulations, from what your analytical mind says you. Your relationship away from your position. Then only you will be able to do justice, isn't it? Otherwise, it can cloud your opinion. Your past experiences may cloud your arguments and make space for disruptive emotions and impulses, isn't it? Sometimes you feel frustrated because your family member or your friend or your some close associate, they're wanting you to do some action, but you're not doing it because your conscience is not allowing. Not only your conscience, your position is not allowing. What will you do in that moment? So all these things have to be dealt effectively, which is taken care in emotional intelligence. As a food for thought, I would like all of you to go through these cases. Have anybody of you gone through these cases? Any yes or no's? Do you know about this case? All right, but I would like all of you to go and visit this case, okay? Where Sanjay Nirupam reacted after Supreme Court's verdict on the contempt of court case against advocate Prashant Bhushan and asserted that the top court is joking. I would like you to go through this case and take out the emotional clues. You know, what were the threats? What were the rewards? And write these things, okay? Do we see these breaking newses? That Anil Deshmukh's lawyer is arrested because he tried to bribe some CBI officials so that the inquiry could not be initiated. I would also like all of you to go and visit these cases. Violation of ethics, violation of ethics, it leads to emotional turmoil. Now, if Anil Deshmukh has been arrested, will he be feeling better or good? Not at all, isn't it? He has to feel a lot of embarrassment because of this deed. This is food for thought. I would like all of you to visit these cases. Mike Tyson, if all of you know, Mike Tyson once bit his opponent's ear. He had to pay a fine of millions of dollars. And he also had to spend time in prison. But his attorney, Alan Dershowitz, he was really shocked because Mike Tyson was not a law-abiding person. Even in jail, he was violating laws. His attorney felt so embarrassed to see Mike Tyson tied up in chains. Sometimes lawyers face these situations and it can be highly mentally disturbing, isn't it? I would also like you to visit this research paper. This I have put up here for your reference. I would also like you to visit this TEDx talk. These are all the references I have given here. And here in this, advocate talks about how he got panic attack. He got panic attack. He was only thinking about others, thinking only about his profession, being so engrossed. He did not even know when he got a panic attack. And that was a turning point of his life. And that is when he started taking care of himself. And he calls himself, be a zealous advocate for yourself first and then for others. It's a very inspiring talk. I would like all of you to visit this. Think like a lawyer. Here, I would also like you to visit this case wherein 12 lawyers were booked for threatening a woman magistrate in Kerala. You should definitely visit this case and see if lawyers are threatening. What does that mean? If you threaten someone, that means there is some weakness of yours which is going to get exposed. Maybe you were not transparent. Maybe you were not honest, isn't it? And that has been exposed. And now you want to threaten people for not exposing you. Why should this situation come? Isn't it? We need to ask ourselves, who was I in that moment? Okay. Do you know who is? He is Chief Justice of India, S.A. Bobde. This picture went viral. He was riding Harley Davidson, the bike, and you can see the people behind him are wearing masks. But he's not wearing mask. And he is around 65 years of age. This was very unusual sight for people, to see a Chief Justice enjoying Harley Davidson. He was quite trolled for this picture. Many lawyers also passed on certain comments. And he also met an accident while driving. He also played a landmark role in Ayodhya title dispute. I would like all of you to go and check this case as well. Because being in a legal profession and being in a top-notch position, sometimes people can troll you. People can write comments which can be disturbing, isn't it? He also has a freedom of expression. If he likes bikes at this age also, what is wrong in that? But it was an unusual sight, so it went viral. I hope these cases are interesting for you. Any yeses or nos? Okay, I want all of you to go through this research study, how extraneous factors impact judicial decision making. This has been conducted by Columbia Business School and Ben Gurion University. And you'll be surprised if you read this one sentence. Researchers at Ben Gurion University in Israel and Columbia University examined more than 1,000 decisions by 8 Israeli judges who ruled on convicts' parole requests. Judges granted 65% of requests they heard at the beginning of the day's session and almost none at the end. Right after a snack break, approvals jumped back to 65% again. So this actually talks about that how judicial decision making can get influenced if you are empty stomach. It goes, there are neuroscientific evidences wherein a lot of studies are there which say that if we are empty stomach, our decisions get influenced, they get clouded. We don't make good decisions when we are hungry. So always ensure that when you have to talk something, make sure the other person has also eaten and you have also fed yourself well. All right. I think this is a very interesting research. You must go through it. I would also like you to just copy paste this title in Google and you will see neuroscience in quote, my brain made me do it. There was a respected pediatrician who was loved by patients and their parents for over 30 years, Mr. Domenico, and he faced trial for pedophilia. It's a disorder wherein a person feels sexually attracted towards children. And this was the case. But for 30 years, he was respected. He was a respected doctor. What happened all of a sudden? And that is where neuroscience intervention helped resolve the case, that it was a disorder in his brain that led to this kind of a crime. And this is a big breakthrough that neuroscience is now entering the courts and solving many problems like these. It's a very, very interesting case. All of you must definitely go through it. Now, finally, we discussed the keys to EI. See, all of us, we think in language, and in language, we must have a good vocabulary to support us so that whenever we are feeling something, we should be able to label our feelings very well, accurately. What am I feeling in this moment? See this circle, wheel of emotions or wheel of feelings, we call it, and try and understand what are you actually feeling in this moment. Sometimes we feel a mix of these things. This will help you to pause whenever there is a heightened emotion, your brain has detected something, you're feeling something in the body. Ask yourself, what am I feeling in this moment? Go back, see, and label it well. See, I definitely encourage you to watch movies and try to watch movies on mute, try to follow the course of the plot by simply reading the lip movements or see the body language and try and understand what is being communicated. So you can tune in, occasionally to check whether you were right or not. This will actually tune you to the behaviors of others, their body movements, the non-verbal clues, okay? You can also identify a high emotionally intelligent buddy who can reflect on the readings of your situation. It could be your spouse, your friend, your colleague, your coach, who shows the abilities in this area and can give you a different perspective. You must learn assertive communication skills, wherein you take up all the blame for everything that you do and think. And you should definitely learn effective questioning techniques so that you elicit truthful responses from your clients and also from your own self. For example, if I ask myself, I'm not able to carry out my tasks meant for the day completely. Okay, this is my problem statement. What should be name my next question? Why am I not able to complete my tasks? Maybe the answer will be, I have a lot of tasks. Okay, is it a lot of tasks? Why have I chosen a lot of tasks? Can I simplify them? Maybe I should do 3 or 4 tasks a day and do them correctly, completely, and just do the bucketing of my tasks. As such, you should keep on asking yourself the questions till you reach an answer that is from your subconscious. You should definitely go for stress management techniques, mindfulness meditation. We also do a lot of such programs, integrated manner. And take time to reflect and reappraise the situation by changing the meaning of the situation in your mind. When something happens, you start making your own meanings from that situation and you start hurting yourself or you start thinking negative about the other person. The best way is to reappraise that situation in your mind so that your emotional brain is not triggered. That will help you to pause and just move away from that emotion and keep it in check.
I wanted to ask you, when you said that you asked the first question, who you are without labels. What exactly do you mean by that? Do you mean that how exactly you define yourself? Maybe like the qualities that you have, or what exactly do you mean by that?
Very good. Thank you for asking me this question. And I was really waiting that somebody should ask. See, I was again and again referring to that one question, who am I in this moment? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All the competencies that you went through, when they are
Okay.
developed, and they're not developed in a day. Rome was not built in a day.
Of course.
It takes time. It takes a lot of observation. And it's not only observing others, it's observing yourself. When do you feel hurt in some situation? Maybe if somebody tells you that you are worth nothing, your brain detected it as a threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in your mind, if you ask yourself, when will you feel hurt? You will feel hurt if you associate with that statement strongly, that you are worth nothing. If I tell you, you're worth nothing, and I showed you that face, you started thinking. So you started thinking that I'm really not worth it. But at the same time, you're feeling angry because that person, raised a question on your self-worth, isn't it? But if you go back and ask yourself, is this project or this situation something which I strongly associate with? Is this situation me? No, it is just a situation. The situation is not me. What is me? The answer you will get when you will think deeply about your natural qualities, the natural talent, your natural abilities, how you behave with people, how you advise people, how you receive some guidance. Word is give and take. All this information is already there in your mind. You need to access yourself, and your mind will tell you that these are your values. This is what you like. This is what you feel important. Okay? That person in that moment does not define your entire life, isn't it? If you might not have been able to conduct yourself well in that moment, but does not mean that you will not conduct yourself well in the future, isn't it? But in that one moment, if you don't ask yourself, who am I in this moment? Am I also trying to associate with this kind of a statement? Or I should just think back and think that I can improve upon this situation. Okay, it's a feedback. You have quickly reappraised in your mind, it is a feedback. The story is over for you. Do you get my point? This comes with lot of practice. If we easily say, ask yourself, we take you through a lot of assessments and a lot of situations wherein you play that particular role and you ask yourself. That is how we prime your mind for certain things so that you are able to self-regulate effectively in the situations and make effective decisions. Because why we discussed brain, your emotional brain should not take over your executive center, right? We don't want that to happen. So we take time, we reappraise, we think that this statement is not about me. It is about my conduct in that situation. It's not about me. So you'll be able to access your own values, your own talents, and you'll be able to feel good about it.
Which are the telltale signs that that let me know that okay, I have met this person and in my profession, and this person is emotionally intelligent? Which are the signs which shows that this person is emotionally intelligent? How can we measure emotional intelligence?
See, there are categories. This is there's quite a lecture on it completely. See, there are people who possess different kinds of, you will say, attributes. But there are some people who we will feel that they have a balance of these attributes. For example, you have your boss. Okay, say for example, you are working at some place and your boss, whenever he finds that you have not been able to do something properly, he comes and asks you first, was there a problem? Is it that you don't have the proper training for the thing that you are doing? What is the issue behind it? If he tries to do that, this is a clue. The person is emotionally intelligent. If he has heard you, this is a clue. But he has not jumped to the opinion that you are worthless, you are not doing your job well, why you are here, okay? He has given you time, he has asked, he bothers to ask, he is empathetic. He wants to understand what is it that stopped you from doing it well. If you need any training, maybe he can arrange for you. He or she can arrange for you, right? See, such are the clues.
Right.
Such are the clues. Some people come and coach you. Some people come and coach you. They tell you that this is what is to be done exactly. And you are good to go. And you thank this person. You say, wow, he just came and he showed me certain things and he mentored me well and he went. Right? Such people are emotionally intelligent. Some people ask for other people's opinions. They take everyone along and they ask for opinions. These people are emotionally intelligent. Some people tell you, okay, you do it your way. I would like to see how you do it. Okay? But they say it in a manner that encourages you, does not discourage you. They don't say it for competition. They say it for improvement. You do it your way. I would like to see what are the results when you do it your way. When such people say things like this, you feel that, yeah, they are emotionally intelligent people. They come and tell you this can be done in 2 steps. Such people are emotionally intelligent because they're innovative. They show initiative and they show commitment to your goals. These are some clues you can definitely look for.
Okay. And ma'am, second question is, what are the best practices in daily life to develop this emotional intelligence skill?
When you go through my last slide, wherein I have mentioned that the skills have to be developed over time, good questioning skills. So questioning is not only for others, it's for the self as well. Okay? There is a proper thinking process to solve any kind of statement, problem statement that you find in your life or in the workplace. You must know what is assertive communication, how not to blame others, how to take the blame on yourself, still communicate what you wanted to communicate, and respect the other person's feelings, respect the other person's dignity. Keep intact and still communicate well. All right? So these things will definitely help you. Learn mindfulness meditation. You must know. See, all of us know what is happiness, what is sadness. All of us, you know that. Means like a ocean. Everybody knows what is the wave. Wave has a crest, it has a trough. Okay? But what is lacking is nobody knows what does it feel like being a stable, calm water, so that when there is trough or when there is crest, you can actually observe it and make it out. For example, when somebody gives you knowledge, if you are internally disturbed, you will not be able to receive that knowledge well. But if you are internally calm, you will be able to receive the knowledge well. You'll be able to make sense of it. Make sense?
Okay. Yes, definitely, ma'am.
So thank you so much. I have given a link to my Facebook group, which is about emotional intelligence and neuroscience. It is around 1,000 members. And there are lots of blogs over there, lots of posts. If you would like to go and read them for more helpful information, you're welcome to do that. Thank you so much, PLEA. And thank you, everybody, for joining.